I being lured on out there, okay, by a jinn, by ghost activity, by alien activity? What was it that I was being lured on out to? It wasn't after her; it was after me, and that's when the big chill hit me. Wow. Okay, you got the scenario, Alan, but you got the conclusion wrong. It wasn't after her. It wasn't trying to separate you two as far as her being the target. It was after me, and that's when I thought to myself, "Wow, that was a close one."
It is. Now, maybe, somebody, or entities that, were murdered, during that time frame, or whoever knows of the time frame, kind of like duplicates it. Or maybe the person that was killing those people, right? Well, maybe his spirit's there, and, if somebody's there, and which is going to be very rarely, maybe they're trying to entice you to follow that music and keep you going to, you become part of history.
Well, yeah. Well, one of the things about that is, the siren song. Now, this happened a few years before a very famous missing person, Mel Nadel. Now, if I was to go as the crow flies, and I go, gosh, okay, 8 miles. That's where another woman went missing, and then we go a little bit farther. Well, let me go. Okay, if I go straight, there's an area there in Pecos area. Now, I wasn't in Pecos. I'm on the outside of this area, but I'll just tell you what I think happened. There's an area there where, and it's on the website, SantaFeGhostAndHistoryTours.com, and there's a button called the Pecos Triangle. You can read about some of the missing. Now, this happened, I'm going to say 6.5, 7 years ago. A very famous missing person. His name was Mel Nadel. And Mel owned a gym, Pilates, whatever, how you say that word. He also owned a jewelry store. He was a black belt in karate. And he was invited on up to go hunting with 2 friends in September. Now, mind you, we don't get the snows up in the Pecos area in September. It's going to be good weather. And Mel was nobody's fool. He was from Brooklyn. He was happily married, had a teenage daughter, was doing very, very well financially. He kind of had like a quasi-Ringo Starr type haircut, or a Terry Hanratty haircut of the old Pittsburgh Steelers, not Terry Bradshaw, Terry Hanratty of the early 70s. And he goes on up with 2 friends, and they're going to go after some game. So he tells his 2 pals, knock yourself on out. I'm going to build a blind. If something comes on by, I'll take it on out. So his 2 friends go on out. They come back. There's no Mel, but his vehicle's still there. Now, mind you, they are camping off of this dirt road in a place called Elk Mountain. And this is not the Himalayas. This is going to be an area that's crisscrossed with roads, paths. There's cabins. It's I don't know, kind of like the northern Georgia, Tennessee geographic area where you have all these. Well, back there you have farms, but up there we have cabins. In other words, it's virtually impossible to get lost on up there. And his 2 friends come back, and there's no Mel. So they crank off some rounds. They have air horn. Nothing responds to either one of these. So they contact the authorities. And they have to wait X amount of hours, 12 hours, etc., because the old story as well, maybe the male ran off with a leggy blondie or something to this effect. And then they start this huge search. It's one of the biggest searches that there was in northern New Mexico. They had Hueys, Cessnas, people on horseback, volunteers, professionals. You're going to see some pictures on the website of me doing on up there, and also other different investigations on up there where these people go missing. And that, again, that's SantaFeGhostAndHistoryTours.com, or just Google Allan Pacheco and you can get to that website. So it's a massive search. And here is the Twilight Zone aspect of this. we find Mel's tracks. Now, Mel's tracks go roughly about 110 yards away from the camp, and we just truncate. In other words, Mel does not go back on his tracks. There's no animal tracks, no bear, no mountain lion around his tracks. There's no spent casings. There's no sign of struggle. There's no blood. There's no ripped clothing. He's just gonzo. Now, they don't find a shred of this man. Now, this was what, I'm going to tell you, 6.5, 7 years ago when this happened.
Oh, wow.
There's been many, many others that have gone missing on up there.
Well, I got to ask you a question, because I'm going to interrupt you ever so often to ask you questions. Has there been sightings of UFOs in that area? Because the reason why I'm saying this, about 2 weeks ago, I had a guest on my show. He's a trucker, and he, goes out to the oil fields in Texas at night, and gets the oil and then brings it back in, to be refined from the fields. And one night he was going to the field, and he looked out his, cab window, on the driver's side, and noticed a cow. That's right. A cow was like maybe 100 feet off the ground and struggling, trying to get away. And he's looking, and he doesn't see no cables. He doesn't see any chains. He doesn't see a helicopter. This cow just going up in the air, towards space.
Uh-huh.
And that really got him into the paranormal really fast. And he's seen some really strange things like that. So maybe, this person was out there, and that's why I was asking about other missing people out there. And with UFO sightings, because maybe they were abducted.
There is UFO activity on out there. And is that what happened to Mel? Or was Mel lured on out there like what happened to me, the attempted luring? Did he hear somebody calling his name? Did he hear some beautiful music and he walked on out there? And did something, be it UFO, another dimension, creature from another dimension, shapeshifter from another dimension, La Llorona, a jinn, and that's what happened to Mel. Now, mind you, since that time, not a trace of clothing, not any bone has been found of Mel. None of his bank accounts were touched. He just vanished off the face of this earth. And I was thinking to myself, what happened to me a few years before Mel disappeared, is that a similar scenario?
That sounds like it. I mean, it really does. I mean, that, and it's really isolated in the area, wasn't it?
Well, okay. It's not as isolated as you think. In other words, if Mel got lost, or if I got lost, or if anybody gets lost on up there, you're going to come across an old Indian trail, a Spanish trail, biker's trail.
That's not what I'm saying. Is there homes by there, or like within walking distance, within a few minutes?
There's cabins, and where you're at, you're going to be able to see at night the light in the sky of the Pecos village, the Pecos town, or of Santa Fe, or you're going to be able to see the Sangre de Cristos. In other words, you've got all of these landmarks. It's virtually impossible to and again to buttress my point. Tombstone, go to my website, and you're going to see all these pictures of the different geography, of the different wild pastures, the trees of the stands of trees, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. That's SantaFeGhostAndHistoryTours.com, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. In other words, all these missing people on up there, and Mel is just one. There's others that it just does not make sense. So we get back to what you're talking about. Is it UFO? Well, that's possible because there is UFO sightings. Now, is it possible that there is some type of portal, Stargate, whatever you want to call it, doorway on up there that UFO or aliens use, or that something negative from another dimension or another planet or a jinn uses to come into this realm, into this world, and that's what you're getting. Now, again, to about cattle mutilation, if from where Mel or from where Emma Tresp, we haven't gotten into Emma Tresp, like Trespassing Tresp, where she disappeared up in that area, you just go a few miles and there was cattle mutilation. And again, that's linked to UFO activity. So yeah, there's all kinds of possibilities. I maintain that there is some type of doorway that moves around on up there, that opens and closes, and that you could have alien, like UFO craft, come and go, and also perhaps shapeshifters like jinn or other types of things coming and going and taking people. And that's my take. Now, could it be all of them? Yeah. Could it be just one of them? Yeah. But there is something on up there that is danger, danger, Will Robinson.
Well, have you ever checked out how many people in the area, have disappeared while they're out in that area? I mean, how many people? I mean, in the national forest, alone, you're talking 14 some thousand people in a 90-year time frame just totally disappeared out of the national forest. No account where they disappeared to. How many people in that area have disappeared? I mean,
well, I've got a number of people listed on my website, and these are the ones that I can confirm that were on up there that went missing on up there. Now, as far as going on back to Wild West days or the days of the conquistadors, who knows? Now, the Pecos Indians, that was a pueblo. Now it's ruins. But they warned the Spaniards in the 1530s, 1540s, beware of that area. And then they warned the Americans coming down the Santa Fe Trail, watch out for that area. So you have something that's going back hundreds and hundreds of years, going back to the 1530s, 1540s. Watch out about that. And, of course, with Pecos, you have the old Santa Fe Trail, old Route 66 that used to go through it. So, yeah, again, too, there are certain places in New Mexico, but specifically, this is, close to where I'm at, where I can investigate, where you've had, outer limits type of phenomena. If I was to write this in a screenplay, and one of these days I'm going to, people are going to reject it because it's just too impossible.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I do have the facts that that's what happens, and yeah, it's it's the who would have thunk it.
Well, how about truckers? Do they in the area? Have you heard any trucker stories about seeing like ghosts, women walking down the road, or anything at night, or even seeing guys on horses, or anything like that? Have you any stories like that in the area?
Well, not so much in that area. No, on that. On the interstate now, what's I think it's I-25. It no longer Route 66. No, I have not heard anything about the ghostly hitcher, the femme fatale that's dressed in white like Resurrection Mary in Chicago. Nothing like that. However, truckers, people in the area have seen UFO activity there where these people have gone missing. Now, mind you, the Pecos Triangle, it's not a triangle. It's because of the Bermuda Triangle of missing. Now, what has also been seen on up there, and this is again too gets into conspiracy. You have military helicopters on up there. So are they observing something on up there? Are they part of it? What do they know? Why are they on up there? And when in different areas, different locations of that area, when I and my band of pirates when we try to do some investigations on it, or I'm solo doing it, and we are, or I am using a drone, or we're all using a drone